Hello, my name is Sam and welcome to another After Effects tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at 2D camera tracking and also 3D camera tracking. So by the end of this video, you'll know how to take the steps in order to get the data which you need for making stuff like this. Okay, so let's get a move on. So I have created a new composition, which is the raw footage that we have taken earlier on. So, first of all, let's look at 2D camera tracking. So, this is stuff that if you're using 2D elements, or if you're going to be putting elements in a 2D space. So, if you're wanting your elements to move back and forth in space, so away from you and towards you, that's 3D. 2D camera tracking only deals with up and across, so your Y and X axis. So, let's look at that first. So, to do that, you need your footage in a composition, have that selected, and you look along your sort of effects stuff along here, just below effects. Depends on where you have it. If you look at window, you can look down for tracker, make sure that's selected, and you should be able to see it. So you hit tracker here, and you see you've got a few options. So yeah, make sure that you've got your footage selected. And then you hit a button called track motion, not track camera, that is 3D, track motion. Hit track motion, and you have got your tracking point. So, simple as this, you just need to put your tracking point over something which will stay in the frame all the time. So if we move this across, put that, let's say, here, just on the edge of the eye, and that should camera track just fine there. Now the box around the outside is the search zone. So if you've got a lot of movement in your footage, and every frame is going to be moving a lot, you're going to want this search area larger. So basically what you're saying is, where is this point going to be on the next frame? If there's a lot of movement, that point could be a long way away. If there's not a lot of movement, then it could be very, very close to the starting point. Of course, every time it's tracking across through the footage, it's going to be looking for that point throughout the entire search area, which of course uses more processing power if the bigger you've got this area. So you want this to be as small as you want it, really. The smaller the better, because the quicker it's going to do its job. So if we have this relatively small for us, and once you've got that, you just simply go hit play, and this will just deal with 2D up and down motion. Hit play. You can see this has actually not done a very good job. You can see it's moving around. It doesn't exactly know where to look. So what we've selected is not a very good track point. So let's stop this. We can reset. So it gets rid of the tracking points that have been rendered already. So we can find a different tracking point. So let's find somewhere that's not quite. It needs something that's got a lot of contrast in it, so it can tell quite easily where this point is. So let's try somewhere up here. So let's look on the eyebrow. That's somewhere we could possibly put it. So let's say somewhere here. This little cross point here between two things. That could work. Let's try that. Let's go forward. That's doing a much better job. Look, that's staying right where it needs to. It's not too blurry as well. You don't want to have it on a blurry, out of spot area. The sharper the area, the better. So you can see this is moving forward just fine. No problems at all. And once we get to the footage, there we go. There are all our tracking points. So what we want is to put all this tracking data onto an object which can be followed by other objects that we put in. So once we put the elements in, they follow an object, and that object will be a null, which is literally just a point in space. That's all it is. It's not a physical thing we're putting in. So if we right click on our work area, hit new, and go to Null Object, which is literally just a point in space. You see it's null 1. Now if we go across to our camera tracking stuff, we can see the current track is called tracker 1 and the track type. So we want to hit this thing called edit target, which is basically where do we want this camera tracking data to go, and we want that to be on null 1. Hit OK, and we hit apply. Apply dimensions X and Y, yes. And then if you hit the null, you'll see, click on null, you can see that that's being tracked through space like so. That means we can then put our stuff in. So you could put anything in. You could put a lens flare on your eye, whatever the effect is going to be. This is like the basis of what brings your elements that you're bringing into the software and sort of grounds it to your footage. That's 2D camera tracking. 3D camera tracking, as I said, is when there's possible movement in the Z space, which is away and towards you. So let's look at that. So if we delete the 2D camera tracking, delete that null, and we open up our footage, and we can delete the motion trackers. Tracker 1, delete that. So now let's look at 3D. So now we hit tracker again and select our footage and hit track camera. Now straight away it's going to do the job. We can see up here it says initializing at the moment. Give that a second, and there you go. It's going to start doing the frames. There's 344 frames in this piece of footage, which is here. You can see we've got the whole thing in. The longer the piece of footage, the longer it's going to take. So make sure you've got your footage already cut to size before you do this, because it will take a while. So you see it's halfway done, and it's almost there. And there we go. It is done. So you can see all these points have been created now, which are points that it has discovered in space. So basically what this is doing is assuming that the camera is moving around these points, that these points are static. This is the way that the software works. So if we click on one of these points, you can see that there's it's discovered all these areas in space that we could attach something to. But if we go through, we can see that a few of them get spawned, a few of them despawn. But if we look for one that sort of stays around for the whole time, let's see. So a few more change there. Okay, if we look on the eyebrow, like on the 2D tracking, the eyebrow seems to have done the best job. There's a point up here, an orange point, which doesn't disappear throughout the whole track. We can click on that, select that, right click, and we can create a null and a camera. So as you can see, we've now got a null object and a camera, which has just come into existence. So the null, basically, if we look at its transform data and its position, you can see that its position is not moving. It's assuming that this is like, the world is revolving around this point, effectively. And what it's actually done is it's tracked the camera. So it's thinking that the camera is moving, where in reality, it's actually just on a tripod. But you can see that the camera's data is actually what's moving around. So there's a way we can look at this. If we go to two views, vertical, and we can look down, so you can see where the point is and where the camera is. If we track through, you'll see that the camera is moving. This is what it's thinking the camera is doing. You can see it's moving left and right, because that's what it thinks the camera's doing. So that's how the software works. And the null object is what we use to, like in the 2D tracking, we use that as as the point to parent everything to. So in case it wasn't obvious exactly what parenting means, it means if I have an object, say just a solid layer, bring that in, make that small, and we parent that layer to the null object and also put it into 3D space, then you can see that it's actually tracking in 3D space. So if we make that smaller, you can see it's currently attached to the eyebrow, because that's where the null object is. But you can see it moves around, and it should stick with all the scaling information, all the position information, and the orientation information, which is what the 3D camera tracking does. So there you go. That is pretty much it. That is how you do camera tracking in After Effects, and how you get the data needed for most of the effects you see on After Effects. So thank you very much for watching. My name's Sam. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. And if you have any ideas for other things to do on After Effects, please put them in the comment section as well. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up down below and consider subscribing. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.